Hi guys, thank you so much for joining it in another video. So last time I was talking about I discussed something like all Africans are soldiers. So as I was discussing that and giving details as to why I was thinking so a lot of memories or a lot of stories, a lot of experiences came back like growing up in an African home, and then I was like, okay, why not discuss with my ninjas? If you've grown up in an African home, at least you relate with most of these things that we're saying, and you've gone through some of them, and you also acknowledge that it is interesting. Growing up in African homes is very interesting. So today we just want to look at a general picture of growing up in an African home, like the do's, the don'ts, and all those things. A little details. You can't exhaust them all because there are quite many, but let's try. Okay. First and foremost, at least I've told you already. First and foremost, there is a famous proverb. Famous, I don't really know who invented it, but it's very famous. Spare the rod and spoil a child. That is like a motto in every African house. Spare the rod and spoil the child. My dear, African parents never spare the roads. With or without police, they will discipline their children. So that is a motto you have to, at least most African people know that it's common in every home. There are those common proverbs that I don't know. That's why I say these African parents went to the same master class that they were taught by the same professor. That's why they share all those details. Spare the rod and spoil the child. That is a motto in an African home. It is rare. Most wrongdoings are punishable. Or if you find some parents, they'll talk to you several times, or like several times, I mean 3 times. Several times, not 1,000. I mean 3 times, and then you get your portion. Portion depends on the magnitude of what you've done. Like I showed you in the previous video, you must be knowing which portion you get for what. Should you be accused of anything and you cry? Crying is a sign of guilt. In African home. Why should you cry if you didn't do it? What are you afraid of? What is making you cry? Where are those tears coming from if you are innocent? So crying is a sign of guilt. She said, did you do it? And you said, you have done it already, nothing more. And stammering is a sign of lying. If you're not lying, why should you forget your words? If you're not a stammerer, why should you forget your words? Just like that. Why? So you don't cry, you don't stammer when you ask something. For your safety. Growing up in African homes, it is always, most cases, okay? Always is not right word. In most cases, it's an extended family. In a typical African home, it is rare to find it a nuclear family. But those such families are common in the city because the city dwellers have copied so much of the international or the foreign culture, and yeah, it is okay. You find it's only father, mother, and their children. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. But in a typical African home, it is never that. Just that they say, these kids will grow up not knowing other people. We should call so auntie so and so's son to come with uncle so and so's. So you grow up knowing, because when they believe that if that cousin of yours comes, you'll have a relationship with them, you'll get to know them and their parents. Okay, by knowing a bit of their parents, you know a bit of what happens in their parents' lives, and you can't take that away. Like for me, it is normal. Like even just being, it is normal. Like even just being at home with only my parents, I'm like, what is wrong this time around? So is everyone fine, or are we in good terms with all our relatives? Just seeing me, I'm only at home with my sisters. I'm like, are we in good terms with all our relatives? So it's always an extended family, and it's fun growing up as an extended family. There are a lot of benefits. Maybe we shall sit down with other people who've grown up in extended families and we get to discuss, because me growing up, there is no single time we were only us. No, we at least had an auntie's daughter or an uncle's son or something like that. So that keeps the bond stronger. You find that someone has, hey, family bonds are strong in Africa. Some of you will testify that Sunday school is not optional. You don't decide whether you want to go for Sunday school or not. For the rule is actually in African homes, the rule is for as long as it is not your house, you will follow what the owner of that house says. You will do as the owner of that house says. Sunday school is not an option. Yeah. Should I not go to school? How? You want to get spoiled? Huh? You don't want to go, do you want what? Hey, so it only became optional for me, I think, when I was grown. Like, they will even ask you, will you go to church? Then you'll be like, okay. So I have to say yes or no. And let me tell you something about African parents. Sometimes they will ask you a question which needs a yes or a no. But when they need a no, if they want a no, or when they need a yes, if they want a yes, should you say otherwise? Ah. So in the first place, I always ask myself, okay, why did you ask? Why did you ask? Recently, even of recent, by the way, my mom still does that. There's a time I asked her, so why did you ask? I was like, huh? I was disrespectful. That was disrespectful of me. Like, another thing, you never ask visitors as of when they are going. It is not your house. Even if it's our very own parents, you don't ask visitors when they are going. For us, it literally shows that you are chasing someone away. That is what it shows. Please, you Google, like, how can you ask that a question when someone has just come, even if they have stayed for some days? Those are things we expect people to know. You've come to my home, you've planned 5 days, you let me know by yourself before I ask you. Okay? But asking is rude. It feels rude. But in the city, people do it a lot and it's okay. Me, when I visit you in the city and you ask me that, there and then I'll tell you I'm going to do. Because I'm not used to it. It is rude, like, I've just come. Or it's a polite way of saying, please, you've overstayed, you're welcome. But you don't blame me. We get those things from where we grew up from. Yeah. It is a sign of disrespect calling people by their first name. Are you their father or mother? Huh? You call your uncle by their first name. Bakuita kwisamu maaso. Let me translate it just literally, but I give you a meaning. Passing eyes through someone, that is like minimizing. This English now. Minimizing someone. Like you say, how do you say someone's first name? Tell me. I have a story. My brother, my eldest brother, we were told that there was a time he called our uncle by his first name. And my mom tried to chase him, to beat him. It is also punishable, running away from punishment. If a parent wants to punish you, you stay there, you're punished thoroughly well, you say thank you, life continues. So this time around, mommy was chasing him to punish him. So, because he had called our uncle by the first name, and then mommy didn't missed him, of course, and then he was telling the friends, that, mommy calling her by the first name, which I don't want to say. Let me say just Kwagala. So he was like, Kwagala had finished us. He was still calling mommy by her first name. Hey, that was double trouble. Double trouble. So you don't call people by their first name. If you only know the first name, find a polite way of knowing the next name, the other name. Because we feel the first name, for us, the first name is the surname, right? Because it is the family name. Because it is a heavy name. You could call someone by that name, and yet it is shared by the great grandfathers or the grandfathers. It's like you've just treated them like nothing, because you don't just call elders like that. By the way, even if it's not just the first name, for grandparents, you don't just say names, sir. You give them, you call them by their title, grandpa. You don't say, Joseph. Trouble, trouble. That is disrespect. Why? But now a challenge I have with the, okay, this is, I'm telling about African homes, but the challenges I have with the Europeans and the what, I don't know which one is the first name, which one is the, all names sound English, and for us here, English names are the ones which are not family names. Our family names are in botanical languages, but for English names, I don't know which one is surname. So I fear calling people by their names. So I always ask, so you are Mercy's Johnson. So which one is the surname? Which one is something like that? If you are a student, this issue of home, we have a house party. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I should even say like that. We have a house party. We have a sleepover. We have a what? In an African home, they'll ask you, "Don't you have your home?" Sleepover. You mean you've not been sleeping in your home? Like, that is like how? Where do you even get the courage to ask a parent that you want to go for a sleepover? For what? Huh? Hey. So you go to school? Why am I even making my mouth like that? You go to school, make those friends, and they will tell you that friendship should end in school. But those things of I am going to sleep over. How? Not in an African home. Your home is your home forever and ever and for all days until you're married. Actually, when you're married, it ceases being your home. Like, it is your home where you come from, but you do not have a bed there. I will tell you about that. Okay? So, and a few parents, those of African parents who accept their kids to go for sleepovers. It takes I don't know, a host of angels or something like that. That parent, maybe if they're in town, because even if an African parent trusts you, they do not just let things just like that for just living over for hey, no. So just be sure to learn a lot of proverbs just from daily routine. It's like maybe sometimes you'll be rebuked or corrected or by a proverb. You do not want to work. He who doesn't work never eats. Atakolenga talienga. Or he African homes, they are fun. So every mistake you make, there is a proverb attached to it. Every mistake there is a proverb attached to it. So it turns out to be so interesting in that even when I've grown, I also use those proverbs. I also use those proverbs. When they say, for example, if they have told you something several times and you're not hearkening, they say, "Nanta bulidira sabaraba bumba." Like, he who never listened, I'm trying to translate them to English. He who never listens. He who never listened took a clay as a boat, made a boat out of clay to go and sail on water. What happens if you sail in a boat made out of clay? You will drown. So that means they're telling you that if you do not stop what you are doing, you are going to drown in your own mistakes. So I love that proverb whole thing. Like, the wisdom comes in proverbs. If you do not get it yourself, you're doomed. So you just be certain that if you've grown up in an African home, a lot of proverbs for correcting, for eating, for like there is a proverb for everything. Okay, yeah. If you didn't have those proverbs, then just know that is not a typical African home, but a typical one. Proverbs are like a structure. I told you, in a typical African home, punishment is not brutal. Punishment is not torture. It is correction. And you must say thank you to correction. Every time someone corrects you, you must say thank you. So after being slapped, whipped, or for correction, you have to say thank you. I hope you got that. Should you not say it, it is punishing. Highly punishing. And one thing I've seen in African homes, it is rare to hold conversations about sex. Most of the African children have learned about sex by themselves. So growing up in an African home, there is no single day, even as me, there's no single day my parents sat down and had a sex talk with me. Like, no. I don't know why. And just to tell you also, sex is so sacred in an African uh, culture. So you do not just go on having it with anyone. No. It is believed your body should be for one person. And so, yeah, that's why cheating is not a culture. It's not an African culture. It's not our culture. So, parents never talk about sex, but these are important things that you have, because as we are children, we keep on growing from one stage to another, but if we do not have such conversations and such talks, and I don't know, they never say it, like they don't talk about it, but there are myths around it that even when you find about it, it is scary, it is, something like that. I don't know if I'm saying it right. It is, but God has designed it as a good thing, and it is holy to the ones He designed it for, the marriage. Okay, you do not throw tantrums in an African home. How? Should I? Like why? How? What is really? Even as a kid, you'll get. Because by that time, if you allow kids to throw tantrums, they are getting spoiled and getting out of control. So they immunize you before you're worse. I don't know that they are kids. Actually, African parents have these things that kids are wiser than the elders. Because even as a kid is just breastfeeding, and he bites the mom, for example, they say you just get a hanger and bite them, they'll never bite again. How will they know that, oh, this biting is not good? So they tame them when they are still tameable. So you do not throw tantrums in an African home. Even I have no words to explain that. But you don't throw tantrums in an African home. To who and by who? If it is you, you get your portion. It is correction, it's not torture. Like African parents, I think it's only my dad, but all my friends always used to worry about their parents. At least in this section, my dad was a little different, but he is among the 0.001% of African parents. A, all they know in school is A, D1, like distinction 1 and A. Then you come back with your B, C, they'll ask you, you mean the people who got A have 5 heads? Like, weren't you taught by the same teacher? What happens? Don't you sit in the same class? But then they get, sometimes I wanted to tell my mom, I think you forget that we are in different homes, we have different parents, we are different people, we have different abilities, different ways of learning. My mom doesn't understand those things. Even as I'm old right now, I've tried to have that conversation with her. Till now, we have never come to agreement. Never. And African parents are very funny. She can call you from out to come. She's seated inside the house and say, please send me that cup of drinking water. Like, mom, you were closer to it than I. Should you ever say that? You just say that in your head and you don't show it on your face. But should you ever say that? She will tell you, I worked for you. You mean you can't work for me? I bathed you when you could not bathe. Now sending me water, I feel it's bad. I carried you in my womb for 9 months. Then they will take you all through the process of what is it called? Gestation period. Till when you were born. Just from a cup of water. Just getting a cup of water from the pot and giving it to her. You'll learn about the entire gestation period, the 9 months of pregnancy. It is interesting and fun growing up in an African home. Just get to know. As they are correcting you, there is always that person they use as an example. For failure, there is an example. For success, there is an example. Do you want to be a failure in life? Do you want to be like so and so? Those are normally people they have witnessed, they have watched grow and messed up, and their life is a mess. Then they'll say, you don't admire so and so. So there is always an example of failure and success. Normally, people. But ancient African parents used to think people who had cars are the ones who were successful. Even most of them till now think so, that you don't want to drive a car like so and so, like that. To them, that is success. But to me, it's not. I feel success is more than that. To me, I feel it's more than that. Success is fulfillment. I hope you had a good time. I cannot exhaust everything, but at least I give you a glimpse into where we come from, how we grew up, and please feel free to share your opinions and share your experiences in case you want to collab with me on this. I am just enjoying myself shooting these videos about growing up in African homes. If you have your stories, you can share them with us. We can collab, we can, something like that. And let's have fun together. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good evening.